My topic is how to choose a story to tell. This is based on my experience as a storyteller, whether here in the Philippines or outside of the country. The first question that I have to answer is, do I like the story? And I really have to answer, yes, I like the story, because how can I tell a story which I don't like? I have to like it so that I will have the energy and the passion to create something out of it. Because a story does not remain as is. You really have to interpret it. You really have to tell the way you want to tell it. So, do I like the story? Yes, and I will go for it. Now, there are several reasons why we like a story. Maybe we like the story itself. We like its narrative or its storyline or the plot or whatever you call that. Or maybe we like the characters because they're so colorful and so easy to personify. Or maybe we like the story because although it's short or brief, but the message is so powerful and it's very easy to relate. So there are a lot of reasons why we like a story. Or sometimes we will never know, why do I like this story? This is just very simple. But if you cannot answer why you like the story, never mind, because you will discover why you like that story as you go along telling that story. The second question that I have to answer is it easy to tell and interpret? This is very important to me. You will be able to tell if it's easy to tell and interpret if the events and situations are clear and when they are properly placed. As a storyteller, it's so important to me that the events or the situations are clear, like what happened first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on and so on. And because of that, the images can be plotted out and they're very, very clear. And you will be able to know in situation one, these are the characters who were present in situation two, situation three. So it's so easy to plot out and it's so easy to remember when you're now telling the story, because you don't need to memorize your story. You only have to, grasp what happened first, second, third, and fourth, and fifth. And also, if the situations and the events are clear and placed properly, you will be able to know that it has a degree of openness to integrate whatever form you like to put. Like, would you like to integrate singing and singing with your audience? Or would you like to put some movement? Or would you like to put some music or playing musical instruments? My example would be Tillin the Little Rice Bird, because if you're going to read the story of Tillin, it's very, 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 very simple. It only tells about the mother pounding the rice, and then the little girl, asking for rice to eat, and the mother continue pounding. Now, although it's very, very clear, the situations and events are very, very clear. Now, because I also have a little knowledge about traditional way of pounding rice, I was able to integrate it in the story. I put it there for the audience to, you know, to involve my audience in the whole storytelling. So in that case, you were able to use a very, very simple story involving your audience. The third question that I have to answer in choosing my story is, who are my listeners? Who are the audience? As a storyteller, we must be able to choose appropriate story for age brackets. We cannot just tell any story. There are stories that are, intended for matured audiences. That is why for me as a storyteller, folk tales and legends and myths are very, very safe to tell because they can be appreciated by almost all ages, from the young until not so young audiences. And um, they can easily be understood. Now, if you have, diverse audience, you always take the youngest as your reference to tell your story. If you have a 2-year-old there, then you tell your story, um, bearing in mind that you have a 2-year-old listener. The fourth question that I have to answer in choosing my story is, what are the requirements of the organizing committee? Most organizing committee would require themes, like themes about peace, themes about the environment, themes about food, themes about journey or travels, or themes about, you know, one time I was asked to tell a story about rice, so you have to choose a story about rice. That is why it's very important also to read a lot of stories, or to learn a lot of stories, to listen to a lot of stories. And very, very important also is, organizers will require you a particular length of story, like 3-minute story, 5, 7, 10, 12, 15, or longer. Now, the requirement number 2, as I said, that is it easy to tell, and the, you know, the situations and the events are put in numbers, because if you know that, although you have a very, very, very long story, but because you know your story, it's easy for you to cut to make it short. So, the same story, but you can tell it in 3 minutes, you can tell it in 5 minutes, you can also tell it in 7 minutes. So, you should be able to do that with your stories, because those are requirements. Sometimes also, um, our organizing committee would require us to have stories that engages the audience. So we must be able to prepare for that. So you choose your story that you can integrate audience participation. And when the organizer would tell us 3-minute story or 5-minute story, then we should follow the rules or follow the requirement, because we cannot just have all the time for ourselves, because we're not the only storyteller there. There are a lot of storytellers, and like, as following storytelling ethics, you have to give considerations with the other storytellers, because you are there in a storytelling festival, because you're going to share each other's stories. The last tip, or tip number 5, is, are you prepared to tell the story? How prepared are you? Sometimes already, bored of telling the same story all over again. But if you haven't prepared that much, then I advise you not to take the risk, because it's storytelling is also a responsibility. You have responsibility to your audience. You have responsibility to your organizing committee, and you have your responsibility to yourself. You have to give, you know, dignity to storytelling, and you cannot just tell any stories that you haven't prepared. Now, I hope those tips are very, very helpful, especially for young storytellers or aspiring storytellers. Now, don't forget to subscribe, and also to click that bell for new uploads of new videos. Thank you very much for listening.